Welcome. Today we're going to talk about the imperfect tense, the second past tense in the Spanish language. Now, you would use the imperfect tense when you're talking about description, habitual action, times, and after verbs of communication, such as decir, preguntar, contestar, etc. Some of the trigger words for the imperfect, so whenever you see these, you're most likely going to see the imperfect right after that, would be siempre, which means always, nunca, which means never, cada día, every day, or the other way of saying that is todos los días, or mientras, which means while. So a good way to think about the imperfect is in the background of information. So I like to think of it as a little wavy line, okay? So everything in the background of a story is this wavy line, and the preterite are these inserts in the story, these times where there's this one point of action, and then you go back to saying the description, the background information, and then once again the preterite interrupts it, and it comes back and takes its spot. So that is the difference between the two. So we're going to AR and ER, IR verb conjugations for the imperfect. Now, the imperfect in the AR, we have aba, abas, aba, abamos, and aban. Make sure you take note of this accent over the A. It gives a different sound than normally would be. It's abamos. Alright? So now we go to ER, IR verbs, and these share the same endings. I like to think of these as the ninja verbs. Ia, ias, ia, iamos, ian. Alright? So, let's kind of use these in some sentences, and we'll get moving on. So, for example, we have, they always needed help. So they, ellos, always, siempre, needed, necesitar. Okay, and so we're going to use the aban ending, so necesitaban. La ayuda. Or, I studied every night. Yo estudiaba cada noche. The thing to remember with AR verbs is when you're talking about yo or the el, ella, usted form, to make sure that you always put the subject pronoun first, the yo or the el, ella, the usted, or a name, because they have the same endings. And so, yes, you can figure it out by context, but it's a lot easier when you're writing it to make sure you go ahead and put that subject pronoun in. Now, let's do some examples for ER, IR verbs. Every day we ran to the store. So, cada día corríamos a la tienda. Or a second one, when I was young, I wrote a lot of letters. Muchas cartas. Once again, make sure that you're using the subject pronouns yo or el, ella, and usted or name to make sure that they understand who you're talking about, because they do have the same endings in ER and IR as well. Now, you may be looking at this and saying, cuando era joven. What's era? There's no verb such as erar, and that is because that is an irregular in the imperfect tense. There are only two irregulars, and there are no stem changers, which is very different than most tenses. So the two irregulars in the imperfect tense are ser and ir. So ser conjugations are going to be era, eras, era, éramos, and eran. And the IR, iba, ibas, iba, íbamos, and iban. So, that is the imperfect tense and all verb conjugation endings, as well as the two irregulars. Now you know how to conjugate verbs into the imperfect tense.